delay too long with the gestation period. That sounded nice. We can reduce the time. And one of the things that we do in lean, and one of the goals of lean is cycle time reduction. So in service industry also we can look at cycle time reduction. Means, for example, in an audit, it's like from the date of starting, commencing an audit to sign off. How short can I make it? How much of the process can be clarified to the client? I mean, this is something I learned, and I think I will apply it to the thing. One more thing. See, normally in a service industry, we rarely talk about work in process. But somewhere in this book, Rees talks about work in process for a startup. He says the time already spent on a particular developmental effort, he says that is your work in process. See, usually it is expense to the profit and loss, but Rees talks about it as a balance sheet item. That's something very unique, and not for me, but I'm sure I'll be sharing it with a lot of my service clients and telling them, boss, this is your work in process. So reduce work in process. See, reduce work in process. You're going to spend more time on this, then that time you are investing is your work in process. So the same, I mean, if you're able to take it there, I think it's a great idea. That's something very unique in this.
Wonderful, wonderful. So metrics again came up. Do not assume that what you think is what customer wants. Very strong message. So what customer can come up with something which you totally didn't think you wanted, and that's the great little more. Now, my next question to both of you is, what are the typical challenges of startups of today, and is he giving any solution, or can we get any solution out of this book? Yep.
See, if you're going, some of your startup entrepreneurs, don't get angry with me. I have about 4 or 5 startup clients, and more than 500 regular, if I may use, old economy clients, trading and all that. The point here is, startup entrepreneurs take it for granted that their bottom line can be read forever. I seriously don't see why. I mean, I do agree that the business is risky and that it has certain elements of uncertainty, no doubt. Even definition of Rees talks about it. See, you are working, who is not working in terms of uncertainty? Even conventional businesses are faced with uncertainty, right? Now, what type of uncertainty is it? Having said that, some of the things, that here are so interesting and so relevant. I only wish startup owners would read this book, because so that they can shorten the process. Right, people are willing to invest money into this business, knowing that you're going to spend it, and some of it may not result in profit earning. Agreed, but how long can this go? I mean, with due regards, and I'm sure all of you have already read it and analyzed it and factored it. We found a company like Dunzo folding. Why? Possibly because the owners that too, remember, it is being backed by a giant. Okay, and why would this happen? And finally the giant says, sorry, I can't help you. And why is this happening? Because startup entrepreneurs need to really seriously stop looking at vanity metrics, which is what he's talking about. See, these vanity metrics without any impact on the bottom line. How far can this go? And how long funding is there, but then why would somebody give funding for it? It's a bigger question. As an accountant, I seriously don't understand even today. Why would somebody fund a loss? See, I would never do this for a conventional business. If a conventional business makes loss for 3 years, the bank would foreclose the loan. Simple. The bank will come foreclose. Maybe my understanding of startups is wrong. Having said that, I don't mind first 3 years, 4 years. But somewhere you should stop making losses. And for the only way to do that is to go for actionable metrics which are verifiable and not just vanity metrics. I think that is something that startups, they face this challenge and they need to really somehow take it up and work on it.
Very well put. I think measure the real metrics and not vanity. Yeah? And then your take on this.
Talking about getting investment and getting funding to your project or your idea, see, 99% of startup ideas don't get paid. They don't get funding. You have to fund it yourself. 99, maybe I'm even giving you a conservative number. Less than 1% of the startup ideas get funded. So, in case you have a startup idea, you have a great idea, you have an amazing idea, you have an amazing follow-through plan for the next few years, but there is a very good chance that you might not get funding. All right, so don't get dejected. That's okay. This book actually helps those 99% of people. When you don't have a lot of money under your inside you, if you don't have a deep pocket, how can you survive the first few years? Mr. Srikanth says it's 3 years, so anywhere between 3 and 5 years is acceptable in my opinion. But yeah, 3 to 5 years is still a great deal of time, and people still have to eat. So what do you have to do to make sure that your business is afloat and you're making a dent in people's minds? Maybe not in their pockets, maybe not lining their pockets, but at least making a dent in people's minds in such a way that you're creating an impact that, okay, there is a great product, there is a great idea that's out there, and there is potential in this idea, and there is marketable potential in this idea. So that is something which Reese is talking about. So this ideas will help those 99% or more people. And another thing that Reese is talking about is validated learning, which you spoke about earlier. Because when you say it's going to be, the gestation period is going to be 3 years or 5 years, so what have you achieved in these 3 years is going to be a question that any fund angel investor or anyone is going to ask you, that what have you been doing? What do you have to show? So if you tell them that, okay, I have learnings to show. Okay, 3 years, I haven't done anything. I have done a lot of things, but then I don't have anything to show in terms of traditional metrics, but then I have a lot of learning. I know, well, like Edison says, I know 10,000 ways that the bulb doesn't work. So, and that's not something that an angel investor can back himself on. So that is not an answer which he would want to invest on. Angel investor is actually looking for profit basically. So after 3 years of your product research and your startup incubation period, you need to have actionable intel, like the FBI says. You need to have actionable metrics. Learning, okay, I got learning, okay, I know 10,000 ways it doesn't work. It's not learning. You need to have found out what actually works, what the client actually wants, and, rather than what the product that you have, you should have already figured out what the client actually needs. And you should have already been on the road to at least create a product that suits at least like 30-40% of the interests of that particular client. And after 3 years, if you don't have this, there is a 110% chance that you will not get a funding for the fourth year. So this is something which Reese is talking about validating learning. So actionable intel is the key thing here, I believe.
Thank you, Kannan. So business should be sustainable and it should be scalable. Both these things, you have a lot of answers in this book. So one final message to the audience before we switch on to the audience questions from each one of you. One key message to the audience from the book.
The last line of the book was really good. Most of all, we would stop wasting people's time. I think that's a very important thing. I think that's an important message. Let's stop wasting people's time and be focused on what we are doing and get to wherever we want to go faster. I mean, that's my humble message.
After reading the book, I started asking this question. So, if I have to redefine metrics for my business and policies and principles, so why can't I take this idea and put it on my life itself? Then I started asking myself this question. So how do I define my success? So previously what I used to think was, I had a list of things that a checklist of sorts, a bucket list of sorts, which I thought if I had checked all those things, I would be successful. I can call myself successful. And then as time goes by and the hair became white and then wisdom came in. So right now what I believe is after this book, when I started thinking, I mean, this is not something which I got from the book, but then it is something that I got through the book. It made me think that way. So what I got is, there are only 3 things that if I do those 3 things, I can call myself successful. I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, and I want to teach what I've learned. These are the only three things which I think if I do this, I'll be happy. And I can call myself a successful person.
Very, very good end. You know. I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, and I want to teach. So learning is a continuous process, and I hope we didn't waste your time. Okay, like I said. All right, so I'm coming to the audience question. So we have, we'll take only one question from Mr. Jayaraj, GM Sale. Is he in the audience by any chance? Okay, you're there. Okay. So his first question is, what could be the role of AI in innovation? One thing I can say is the introduction to the speakers. It's completely AI. The introduction which you saw about the speakers.
I'll react.
I think it's earlier a group captain used to introduce us. Now AI is introducing us. Immediate in the innovation. It is very impressive also. You know, quick time, and it's very impressive, and it's very uniform, and it's very accurate. Right? That's my thing. Now your answer.
I am one of those people who believe that AI can actually replace most of the human intelligence in the future. Most of them, not all of them, most of them. They have the potential to do that. But there are certain limitations. As of today, there are certain limitations to what AI can do, cannot do. The first limitation as of now today is they cannot think, and they don't have all the data in the world, and not all the data is correct. So you all should have seen this 5-star ad advertisement where you know they bombard the internet with fake news and you know masala stuff, so that you know when you actually ask AI to do something, it makes a humbug of the whole thing because its input was wrong. So AI cannot, right now, in today's context, AI is not able to distinguish between good intel and bad intel. But whereas a distinguished or a wise man can actually do that. So when a bad advice comes by, you can actually say, okay, no, that's not good for me. I can steer clear of that. So you can actually do that. So human intelligence that way is, by far in today's terms, it's going to be there for another 10 years or so. But after that, watch out.
So the question is, can it help innovation?
May I react?
Yeah.
That's exactly. The question was, can AI, what will be the role of AI in innovation? Now, the answer to that, in innovation, that is it. So the answer, sir, is like this. Sir, AI is a fantastic tool, right? AI is a fantastic tool, but a tool cannot innovate. Innovation is an entirely human exercise. It is only a human being who can say, hey, this is how it's been happening all along. Maybe there's a better way of doing it. That cannot be done by AI. But once the human being says, hey, is there a better way of doing it? AI can help him by giving a lot of inputs that he cannot collect on his own. I think so. AI and human beings have to partner in innovation. It cannot be that AI can innovate for you. Innovation has to be a human process. But once we decide to innovate, how to go about it, definitely AI can give you the... Exactly. It is always, it's always a hybrid. Never ever forget that. Don't give AI some sort of some supernatural status. It is a tool. Like this mic is a tool.
See, there is no equal. There is no equivalent to natural intelligence. Artificial intelligence is always artificial. So, but it helps you with all the mundane data collection. It will give you the entire canvas for you to innovate. That's the help it does actually. Okay, now the next question is to Srikanth. What leadership qualities are most critical for successfully implementing the lean startup methodology in fast-paced environments?
So I think Rees himself points out some of these qualities. One is an ability to continuously learn. See, the leader should be somebody who is willing to continuously learn. So, and that needs another quality there, which is humility. See, if the person is not humble to accept that there could be another way of looking at the same situation, learning simply doesn't happen. Forget unlearning. Therefore, I think one of the important qualities for implementing lean startup methodology is to become humble and be willing to learn from epporul எத்தன்மை தாயினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. If that quality of continuous learning from anywhere and any source is not there, I think this whole process will not work. It's my humble view.
And possibly tolerance to failure.
Tolerance to failure, correct. The humility will bring all that. So that you agree, yes, I made a mistake. Come on, let me try and some other method.
Okay, now next question. Okay, that was from Priyanka from Alvarpet. It's an online question. Next one is from Divya from Chennai T Nagar. Mr. Kannan, as a co-founder of a design studio, how do you incorporate customer feedback into your innovation process without compromising your creative vision?
All right, it's a very interesting question. So how do you draw the line between your creativity and what you think is best and versus what client requirements bring to your design, and what if it kills the creativity? What if the numerous changes that the clients bring actually takes the essence out of the design? Is something, it's a question that we've been pondering all along. See, what I believe is, like what Srikanth said earlier, Eric Ries defines product as anything that can be marketable, that can bring value to your client. Because you exist in this business solely to satisfy the requirements of your clients, not to satisfy your own personal ego. I am an architect. I am not an artist. The work that I do is a product of function. A building has to be experienced, used, and enjoyed. But whereas a piece of art is not so much. If it's beautiful to look at, if it makes your room bright, if it makes you think, if it makes you engage in intellectual, meaningful conversations, yes, that's a great piece of art. A great piece of art. But you can hang it on the wall. You cannot use the art. But whereas architecture is not that. It has to be able to be used. People have to walk in. The two lines that I draw become corridors through which people walk for the next 40 years. So there is a lot of responsibility that is embedded onto that. And most of these responsibilities come from the programmatic requirements. Programmatic requirements are not what the client wants. It's basically what the program wants. We don't do things because of the whims and fantasies of a particular person who calls himself a client. No, that is not what it is about. Servicing the client is not servicing his whims and fantasies. Servicing what he actually needs. Sometimes the client doesn't even know what he actually needs. So you have to ask a series of questions to understand and to reach deep inside his psyche to bring out the actual requirement, which he will never tell you. So maybe during the 6th or 7th sitting, you kind of become a therapist of sorts. Then you bring out such kind of a requirement out of the client and then pull a rabbit out of that. Okay, so this is exactly what you want. Yes. So that becomes like an aha moment for both of us actually. So that is what is understanding and facilitating a client requirement, and I 100% believe that it does not kill the creativity. And talking about creativity, I am another believer in the statement that 100% creativity doesn't exist. Everything that you do is a copy of something that has already been done. I'll just give you a short sentence, make whatever meaning you can out of that. If you want to make an apple juice from the scratch, you have to start by creating the universe.
Fine. Well said, Kannan. One thing I understood is you lead your client towards your creativity. Okay, fine. Next question to Srikanth. Sonia from Salem. Could you share examples of startups you have worked with where refining the MVP significantly altered their business trajectory?
Sorry, that would go into confidentiality issues.
Okay, next one is to Kannan. As Habitat Design Studio encountered situations where customer needs shifted mid-project, how did you adapt without losing momentum?
It happens all the time. So actually what we do is this is another thing that came along the way for us. We started making a KYC form, basic of sorts. You can call it a KYC because the way banks and financial institutions do. So we have a 8-page checklist that allows people to communicate with you on specific questions that we ask them. So, for example, if I'm designing a house, there are questions that are very pervasive in nature. I ask how many pairs of slippers do you own? Do you have a pet? Or the following question would be, where does your pet sleep? Does it sleep on the balcony, or does it sleep on your couch, or on inside your bedroom on the floor, on a rug, or does it sleep right next to you on your bed? Because I need all this information to give exactly what the clients want. So what I thought was, my earlier requirement sheets were just 1 page of requirement, and before that I did not have a sheet, I did not have a questionnaire. I just asked the clients to tell them, okay, now tell me what you want. And then I started noting it down. And then I started doing that, exactly. I did exactly what they wanted. And then at some point of time, they realized that, okay, no, this is not what I want. And that is perfectly all right, because it is not about them, it is not about the client, it is about the product, and it is about the project, it is about the piece of work itself. If at some point of time the end product doesn't work for your client, what use is it that you are an architect on the project? It is not of any use to them. But there are budgetary concerns, and then what we would right now we have a policy that we have a bigger checklist these days. It asks a very wide variety of questions, and every time this exact same thing happens, when a requirement changes, we update our checklist. So that is our continuous learning there. So when we go update the checklist becomes a little more longer, but it's okay. A couple of minutes more on the checklist is not going to hurt them, because we are going to spend close to about 1,200 hours on the project, and they are going to spend 20 hours on the project as a family. And if they cannot spend 20 hours on the checklist, there is no point in us spending 1,200 hours on the project. It just doesn't make sense.
Fine, thank you, Kannan, for that answer. So we've come to the end of I think I can't cover all the questions. So this is the last question of the evening from Rakesh Puducherry. How do you coach businesses, Srikanth, being a coach, how do you coach businesses to manage uncertainty and risk while promoting a growth mindset?
Maybe you should attend Ganesh Challa's program on coaching, because coaching is not about telling them what to do. Coaching is basically about understanding them and then helping them to achieve what they want to do by things. So yeah, basically startup entrepreneurs, the type of coaching that they need is validation and constant support. See, there are small points where they don't see, maybe showing them the way, but no coach can ever tell the coachee what he is supposed to do. We can make him understand and come there. So if growth is what he wants in his business, we can show him, we can make him study, and we can give him tools on how he can do that, and give him some data, and then make him come back. And that's how it's happened. I've coached 2 CEOs of small SMEs, like in the range of 30 crore to now they've taken it to say 70, 80, 100 crores. So these entrepreneurs, generally I used to spend 2 days in a month, and we will only talk about their business, what they are doing. I would never ever tell them what you're doing is wrong. I would ask them, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And then slowly they keep moving towards growth. That's what I found.
Thank you, Srikanth. And finally, I was researching, did any of the, you have one more question? Do you have time? Yeah. Please.
So with regard to capital goods industries, say you are, Mr. Srikanth, you are referring to continuous losses for the 4 or 5 years. See, capital goods industries, there are some limitations. You will be incurring losses for maybe even up to 7 or 8 years also. The only question is, the losses they have to bear, and then they have to continuously wait for the results.
Sorry,
Wait for the results.
Reversal.
To be positive.
Results.
See, I came across one company. are having nearly 12 branches in various 12 countries. Each country will be having either one or two companies only, one unit only. See, in that company, I am a cost auditor. I was questioning why you are incurring for nearly 4-5 years. Losses are done, you are continuing. No, my experience is 5 to 6 years I will be in losses only. They put around 80 to 90 crores. Continuous losses is accumulated for every 14 crores. Now they are in the 10th year. Continuous 4 years, they have wiped off all the losses they have. The person who has put up the industry, he was having that confidence. No, it will be there 4 to 5 years, I will not bother about what is the losses.
That is validated learning.
No, that is validated learning. See, long gestation industries are there. I agree with the infrastructure is another classic example, but you are comparing it with a startup. See, in this case, the entrepreneur he put his own money, and he borrowed from the bank. 1 second, sir. He borrowed from the bank, which has to be repaid out of his pocket. That is when. Then I appreciate him for his perseverance. But when you take somebody else's money and you keep using it and making losses for 4 years, and that too on an idea, let's see, I don't know. No comparison, but I take your point.
We got your views. Okay. Understood the point. So I'll finish. Like I was looking up, researching whether there are any company benefited by this book, the startup in Chennai. One was Agnikul Cosmos. Agnikul Cosmos, which was founded in 2017, you can look up. They are creating wonders in space. They are almost competing with NASA and helping ISRO. That is one company. And Bang Basa is the other company. Bang Basa, which is again a startup which followed these principles and they have really grown well. So it is applicable and it is a great book to read. So thank you very much for being so attentive. And thanks to all the online viewers. I hope this session was useful in taking some insights back with you. Thank you.